Hey guys, Clearly here, and this is something a little different, but it was something I had an idea for ever since this album was announced. Now that I'm doing videos that I'm just sort of passionate about, instead of forcing myself to just stick to one subject at a time or anything like that, I wanted to react to Thornhill's new album, Heroine, now that it's out. Heroine was announced what feels like forever ago, probably a year. I don't remember the exact date that Casanova came out, but that was the first single that was released. It was remarkably different than anything we'd heard from the Dark Pool, but it wasn't bad by any stretch of the word. Like, it had very noticeable differences, like particularly the mixing of the vocals. They had this new distortion to them that was sort of just barely buried under the mix. Like, you could listen to Casanova and you can understand just about every word Jacob is saying. It actually functions like a song, believe it or not, particularly a song with a vocalist. But then Arkangel came out, and Arkangel is my favorite single that it was released. Like, don't get me wrong, Arkangel is a great song if you know the lyrics. If you don't know the lyrics, it just sort of sounds like moaning into a microphone over some riffs, some very good riffs, but you know, it's all sort of fuzz. Like, it were to sound like if I were to take this microphone and like that. The third single, Hollywood, came out at some point, and I listened to it once, and I felt zero connection to it because it had that distorted vocal problem, but it sort of went in one ear and out the other, like a Deftones song that was just boring. And this new album of theirs, clearly in all the singles, has a lot of that Deftones and Muse inspiration on top of that typical Thornhill sound. Like, it still sounds like Thornhill. Like, this is just a Deftones album performed by Australians. And I'm not going into this album, I'm not a biased person. Like, I'm not going to say, like, because I didn't like a few of the albums and I don't like the production, that I'm just outright already going into this album looking to despise it. I obviously want to like it. The Dark Pool is one of my favorite albums of all time. It's not a perfect album. There's a couple of songs in it that I don't really care to listen to. It is a fantastic album, and if you haven't listened to Thornhill's The Dark Pool, you should. I almost thought about doing a video where I sort of conceptualized this story that I had on my first time listening to it, but I don't know, I felt like it would be silly. When they were releasing the singles, it almost felt like a prank, because a lot of people didn't like the distortion on Casanova, even though it was very slight and every vocal was understood. Like, it was all legible, but it felt like they slowly ramped up that distortion as the singles came out. Like, it quite literally felt like they were pranking us. Like if this album were to come out, it would just not have any distortion, and they were just doing it as a joke before it came out. But I don't want to look at the lyrics the first time around, because I want to really make note of that distortion. I want to keep track of every single time I ask myself, what the fuck is he saying? Like, I even argued with people in the comments over this, because of course I believe that artists have the right to make whatever music they want, and that they don't have to conform to fan opinion. But I think it's silly. Like other people were like, oh, it's a shoegaze thing. Oh, it's just part of the aesthetic. And as a vocalist, I hate this idea that bands would have a vocalist and write lyrics, but then completely drown them out. And people were like, oh, well, why don't you just read the lyrics while listening to it? What about people that are, like, listening to music in the car? Just casually listening to it. I don't want to study the lyrics before I go out so I know what to sing while the vocalist is fucking, you know. But anyways, let's get into it. I am a little excited, though, because Thornhill is incredibly good at making an album flow. Like, the Dark Pool just is solid. And I have no connection to any of their previous works before the Dark Pool. I like Reptile, but it took me a long time to ever listen to it. Like, this is a very good riff. The melodic stuff in the background, and then this, yeah, it grooves. I like it so far. I understand everything he's saying, but there is a Deftones song called A Hole in the Earth, and that has been in my head for a while that I haven't sung or listened to in a long time. But I immediately heard that beginning part of Hole in the Earth right there. Let's hear that again. Like, that's original. That line would probably be the second sentence of the Hole in the Earth lyrics. I need to hear this. And I am not a Deftones biased person. I literally only know 2 Deftones songs. I only know Hole in the Earth and Diamond Eyes. But I immediately heard this. I immediately recognized it. It's close. It's not exactly the same. Yeah, this is really good. I would sing this. I had to look at the comments because I wanted to see if anyone was going to say, like, wow, this noticeably has a lot less distortion. Actually, I did notice one thing. Oh, well, I mean, Casanova comes after Arkangel, so that sort of shits on my theory. But I was going to say, I feel like it'd be a really cool concept if throughout the album, the perspective of whatever this main character is talking about, like, got slowly more and more distorted throughout the course of the album. So there's just more and more distortion drowning out what he's saying, as, like, perhaps he's, like, psychologically being affected by whatever is going on. It's just something I thought of thinking about the lyrics of Arkangel and how they seem to be about being in love with somebody, but then it takes sort of a dark twist at the end where it's like, I need an angel to slay. So he's like, oh, I'm in love with you, but I want to kill you, or something like that. Obviously, I don't write their lyrics, and I'm just putting a concept to it, but I do that with every album I listen to. Oh, there. That's that distortion I was talking about if you've never listened to them. Yeah, it's really washed in distortion right now. I don't know why they do it a lot for the high notes. Like, it's only the really high singing. I almost want to theorize that it's a way to mask the fact that Jacob is fucking, like, blowing out the microphone and making it peak. And so they're like, oh, let's just cover that up with some distortion. And then they're like, oh, well, he did that a lot. And like, well, let's distort the whole album. It's almost like if Coldplay's Parachutes was remade by a metal band. Especially this part, but it's gorgeous. The song is fantastic. Like, Thornhill is still showing that they're incredible songwriters. I'm not even gonna re-listen to this song with the lyrics up, because it was perfect. Like, this is a perfect Thornhill song. Ooh, and some gorgeous strings. Yeah, even for just a second. There you go. They're like, here's a little sprinkle on here. Yeah. So this so far is already a mess. And I wanted to comment, but I didn't have anything really to say about it. Of course, since the album just came out, you know, it's really notable to look at the play count to see where people kind of drop off of an album. And of course, the singles still have their play counts in the hundreds of thousands. But as you could see, Casanova was the first one to come out. It's over a million. Arkangel has almost 1 million. And then Hollywood has 600,000 less than Arkangel. And Raw, the last one that came out that I never even listened to, but it came up on my Instagram as like an ad. Oh, no. It was I follow Thornhill. I completely forgot. But it came up and it had like a little preview, and it was so distorted that I had no desire to even listen to it. And of course, we see Hellfire Club as 2,600. This song that is already a mess has 2,900. But then after that, everyone seems to just drop off. We got 1,900, 1,500, 1,300, 1,100, and then just 1,000. And I don't want to be that guy that's like, oh, majority vote, but it does seem like a lot of people just sort of drop off because of this sound. Like, they probably get really tired of this. What didn't have distortion before now having this noise. Already, I haven't understood a single word he said. I like the sound of it a little bit. I obviously need to listen to more of it because it's been 11 seconds. But when this comes up after such a fantastic song, it seems like it'd get really exhausting. Ow! Damn, this riff hits, but this vocally sounds terrible. And the thing that makes me sad about it most, because like I'm not saying it's bad, it's completely unlistenable. It just makes me feel sad because I want to hear it all. Like Thornhill, for those who've never even heard a Thornhill song, Thornhill has been perfect when it comes to being completely legible. Like I could hear everything that he was saying on my first listen through. That's how I even came up with that whole concept of a story the first time I listened through it, is because he was so understandable and the lyrics were so like especially with this song, Views from the Sun. Views from the Sun is literally about the sun crashing into the earth. And it is a message from somebody that is left on the earth while their partner goes up in a spaceship and escapes. And it's like, fuck you, why would you not stay with us? You left us all behind to die. And of course, that is how my whole idea started of the story. But everything is understandable, even the high singing. Like, it perfectly sits on top of the instruments. Like, it's like almost like, I'm not an audiophile or anything, so I can't point out exactly where everything is. But if you imagine that this is like the midpoint of your hearing, below it is all of the instruments, and on top of it is all the singing. You hear it all. It's so in the forefront. I almost think, I think this is how music is mixed. I don't know. I'm literally just talking out of my ass to conceptualize how perfectly mixed the dark pool is. But instruments are perfectly to the left and the right. And then in the middle channels, they're sort of under the vocals. Like, they're quieter in the middle, louder in stereo, which is how they should be. And then the vocals are like the opposite. They're just in the middle and then quieter off to the sides, but they're in the forefront. It is the perfect focus point. And notably, because that's another thing with Heroine so far, is that he sort of vocally is all over the place. Like, he'll be loud and then moaning and then doing falsettos and then be moaning and then loud again. Sort of it's all over the place, and it's a really cool sound, even when mixed under distortion, though you can't understand it. But he does that on the dark pool too. Like, there's a lot of very dynamic moments, and that's my favorite part of the chorus of Views from the Sun, is because he sings really loud in the beginning. Like, it's a lot higher. It's higher notes. It's more powerful. But then the chorus kicks in after the screaming. It starts low. It's lower. It is some of my favorite dynamics in a chorus ever, where it's low and then there's perfect little falsettos there to sort of caramelize the sound of this chocolatey low chorus. And then to really top it off with the whipped cream, I would say, he goes really high again. It is a hard chorus for me to sing, but I always love doing it. It's all legible. Like, you perfectly understand everything, and it's not drowned out in distortion. I just realized I could have been playing the isolated vocals track, because it's so good. They made an isolated vocals track. And this part is a little distorted, but in the actual track, it's still understandable. You can perfectly hear it. You could perfectly hear everything he says. I know I'm only a minute into the second track, and we're 24 minutes into this video, or at least this recording. I'm probably going to edit it down, of course. Yeah, shit like this is good. This is it's a groove. That is my only theory on why the vocals are mixed the way they were, is they wanted to focus on the instrumental grooves. But of course the vocalist in my brain says, like, why have lyrics and vocals if you want to make an album that's more about the instrumental grooves? It's not like both can't exist in harmony. Bands can have grooves and good vocals on top of each other. Look at The Dark Pool. There doesn't have to be like a power contest between the vocals and the instruments. Like, we have fantastic bands nowadays that are incredibly technical but also have very good singing and lyrics and vocals. That's another notable thing about this project, is that there is significantly less screaming, but there we saw our first instance of screaming on this album, and I don't know what it is. I know that Jacob already had to change his screaming style from their previous EP before The Dark Pool, because he was very clearly and notably using only his vocal cords and really, really fucking belting the screaming out and blowing his voice out. And you could hear it noticeably. Like, if you know anything about different vocal techniques, like, it is aggressively, like, just the vocal cords. I'm sure this is what Jacob looked like after touring this screaming technique. So he changed it obviously to a good fry technique going on. I've watched videos of their concerts, and it is a good fresh technique. They even recorded a version of Coven where they used this screaming technique, and then they re-recorded it for The Dark Pool to use the fresher, more healthy screaming technique. But then they performed Casanova live for like a version, and ironically they also performed Muse's Supermassive Black Hole, which is basically the same song as Casanova. They both sound incredibly similar, and they even say that in their interview. Noticeably, he was using inhale screams on what little screaming parts of this song. And obviously, we could brush it off as he was just doing it for this. But if they were rarely going to scream, why not just scream? I don't know, maybe if he just wasn't warmed up and didn't even try to warm up. But he inhale screams. One, inhale screaming is bad. Why would you do this? It's not healthy for you. It is, in fact, less healthy than just doing a good fry scream. But also, I don't know if he's just trying to quit screaming outright. They've been performing songs with screaming in them still on this Heroine tour they've had going on, and they're perfectly fine. They're good. He's been a way better vocalist nowadays than he ever has been. So, I don't know. I just want to theorize because I'm just curious, like, what goes through bands' minds when they're making a new creative change, because obviously it's a popular thing for a lot of metalcore bands to sort of ease into sort of a radio friendly sound. Like, what little of the song I can actually understand in this low, buried under the guitar mix singing is just, I don't even like the lyrics of this song so far. It feels underwritten. Like, it feels very basic. Look at this. Your velvet dress close to your chest? Yeah, you wear it. And then what, into low, into lover? Your skin so sweet, I move to your beat. In too slow, baby. In too slow. Into baby. Like, what is this TWO2? Like, even hearing this, I thought it was just I move to your beat. You're too slow. That makes more sense than whatever this is. And this could be wrong. I hope it's wrong. Either way, it doesn't redeem the obvious, like the easier to hear vocals. Stay close. Go. Too close. Darling. This is just like a fuck song. Like this is like oh, I fucked for the first time. Cool, let me write a song about it. This is Thornhill's I Just Had Sex. How does this have a dark pool vibe? Like if these lyrics were better written, like if it was a different song vocally, this is a gorgeous instrumental. Just take me down, baby. Who asked for that? I'm sorry, I'm just simply confused. What do you mean, you'll be mine in time? Did you not already fuck? Like, it sounds good. Other than the fact that they rhyme safe with save. I hope this isn't an incel anthem, because it kind of comes off like that. Oh, and then we have Arkangel. I don't need to react to Arkangel. Arkangel is a good song. Everyone needs to listen to Arkangel. Arkangel's great. Though, you know what? I'm only going to listen to it for... Like, it's distorted, but you can understand what he's saying, and it's fine. He's just a little drowned out by the instruments. But I wanted to note... I don't like this part because he's very drowned out again. This sounds fantastic, let's be honest. But my favorite part of the song is the part that's coming up vocally, but yet you can't understand him. It's where he sings high again, and you just can't understand it. And it sounds fantastic, but you can't fucking understand him. And the lyrics for it are awesome. Like, I love that line. You're a Ravager and mauve. Like lyrics like that are where Thornhill really show where they can be fantastic songwriters. But so much of it is very bland for this album, especially the last song. Thornhillas. This I respect. This is not what you would expect from Thornhill. Okay. I get it now. Like, I don't even need to listen to this whole song to get it. Like, just looking at the lyrics, I can literally hear the rest of this song in my head just looking at the lyrics. Like, this might as well just be an interlude, but it's the length of a full song. Casanova, and just, I'm only bringing this up because it is, I want to bring up the highlights of Casanova to show where Thornhill's potential was. Like, There's still screaming. We've got screaming. Casanova had screaming. I particularly love the outro because it pushes that, like, it keeps increasing the threshold of vocal power. 5 months ago, I bet at least half the people who hated this song at first love this song now. Like, for what? Oh, people are sad. It goes to show they'll turn their back on anything and not give anything a chance. Here I am. And again, I don't hate it. I don't hate this new sound. I just think there's aspects of it that are very flawed. And so here we have another incredibly short song. Then again, we were supposed to get Casanova after Valentine. Oh, this song is an instrumental. It's a Tim Burton soundtrack. All right, I'm going to listen to Hollywood again because I only listened to it once, and I did not care for it. So I'm going to listen to it while looking at the lyrics. Yeah, there it is. It's just drowned out in, like, distortion and layers. It's so buried. One thing I was not expecting was that this would be the worst song on the album so far, and yet it was a lead single. Not any word he has said I could fully... Well, I mean, there's a few words that stand out, but there is not a full line that has been said that I can completely understand just by listening to it. And the lyrics, like, aren't even good. Like, alone inside the burial device is, like, the only good standout line. And then what is it? Oh, baby, stay away or wake the distant sea. It feels like there should have been a concept here that just isn't there. I don't get it. Wake the distant sea? Like, here we literally just have moaning. Alright, well, I guess audio crackling is just going to be a thing. Like, if Peter actually said, oh, you're trying to record something that's purely audio-based, well, here's every audio issue ever. Here's mic crackle. Here's everything. See, it's very riff-heavy. See, even one of the very few screaming parts, it's just drowned out in distortion. It's so empty. It's shallow. Like, this is, it's almost actually like the musical equivalent of, like, as wide as an ocean, but as deep as a puddle. All right, here's the single I never listened to. I literally didn't hear that. Like, I could tell that there was singing going on, but it was in a frequency that just blended in with the guitar in a way where I quite literally did not hear it. Let me hear that again. I literally hear him mouthing words, and yet there's, like, no sound coming out because it's blended in with the guitar. What is this? Like, instrumentally, it's fantastic, but, like, why would you mix the vocals like this? It happened again. I'll admit this is an enjoyable song. Purely because of the repetition, I wouldn't want to sing it. But, like, Thornhill fans are in a whole other fucking universe if they're like, where was it? Where's that comment? Ethan singing just great all over. Like, all he did was say, in a hole. In a hole. Oh. Look at that. Look at that. They don't even know. What? Huh? It's another song about a woman's body and being weak. See, the whole album is just made for parts like this. I just wish every song wasn't written about the same thing. It's like they challenged themselves to write the same song in just a ton of different styles. The lyrics, though, what about them? They're the same as every other song. I won't sleep till I get you, and your eyes are catching mine. I've got secrets about you. Yeah, it's about the same shit again. And why does it say tonight like this? And form a C? Like, I don't get it. Every song is about the same thing. Like, I would really love to know the concept behind this album. Literally every song is about being in love with this girl. It's like when Coheed and Cambria came out with their last album, Vaxis. And they were like, oh, we're gonna go back to the concept album. We're gonna go back to the whole sci-fi concept album thing. But then every song in it was like a love song. Like, there wasn't really anything there other than the Dark Sentencer that I can remember off the top of my head that was about an actual sci-fi concept. The rest of it was just like love songs. Like, there isn't a lyrical concept here. It's all the same thing. This is actually the end of the album. Clearly, I need a lot more context for this album from band interviews or whatever. I have to be honest, I don't hate it. Like, people are going to be like, Thornhill hater. Oh, you just only want more Darkpool. No, they could have put out, like, this. Well, actually, no, I'm not going to lie to you. I don't want them to put out. I wouldn't have wanted them to put out the same album. I would have wanted songs about different things. Like, yeah, the album is called Heroine. I get it. It's about being in love with a girl. But that's the whole album. The whole album is just being in love with some girl and being like obsessed with this girl. And I would understand it if it was like an actual concept about like a stalker or something like that, because it gives that vibe. It really does give that vibe of like this creep that like followed this girl all the way to like Hollywood or something like that, and that like and realized she wasn't the same girl as she used to. Like, maybe they're out of order. Like, maybe this comes first, because this is the most contextual song on the album. It gives the most context of like being in love with this girl since she was 17, and now she's like older than 22. Almost 22, and he's had this story with her. He's had this storied past, but it being out of order in a lot of different stories of like, I need an angel to slay. You aren't a superstar to me. Stuff like that. I'm in love with this girl in Hollywood. Like, if she went from like being childhood friends to going to Hollywood, and then he like chased her down to try to be with her, and then realized that she's a completely different person than she was, and he's no longer in love with her, and then, I don't know, maybe wants to kill her or something. If that was like some kind of story behind this, that would make a lot more sense if it was put like in order. But looking at all the songs at face value, they're just all about being in love with the girl. Not to mention the terrible mixing of the vocals. Like, these riffs and the instruments go along with it. I mean, there's only like 9 real songs on the album. Everything that's given to us instrumentally is really, really good. But in the vocal and lyric department, this album has just been ruined. It's a fine direction to go in. And I'm not a Thornhill hater. This is a good album. I can see myself listening to more of it, but they're all just vibes. This is just vibe music. This isn't anything really thoughtful. I guess that's the best way I can put it. There's very little thought put into the writing of this album other than riffs. There's nothing here lyrically. I guess I give it a 6 if I had to give it a number. It'll more of them will probably grow on me sound-wise, but lyrically, like, they're not going to improve unless they get rewritten and remixed. Thornhill can keep going in this direction. Just write better songs. I guess that's it. That's all I have to say about it.